Good evening, guys. All are getting my screen and voice. Please confirm. So, thanks for confirmation, guys. So, today we are going to start DevOps, guys. We are going to start DevOps. Right. So, to attend for this DevOps, what are the prerequisites? So, what are the prerequisites to attend for this DevOps sessions? Right. So, here prerequisites. Prerequisites to attend for this DevOps sessions. Linux basics are required, guys. Linux basics are required, guys. And right, if you guys have AWS knowledge, right, just EC2, right, at least EC2 knowledge, that is enough, guys. Linux basics are required, guys. To attend for this DevOps session, the main prerequisites are Linux basics. If you guys have the Linux basics, that is more than enough to attend for this DevOps session, guys. Okay. See, guys, today we are going to start DevOps. The main prerequisites to attend for this DevOps is Linux basic commands, guys. Linux basic commands are required, guys. Next, guys. Here, what we are going to discuss in this DevOps session, guys. What is the course content? Course content, guys. Course content. So, what we are going to understand in this session? See, guys, here multiple tools we are going to understand in this session, guys. Not single tool, guys. We are going to understand multiple tools, guys. What tools we are going to understand? So, what tools we are going to understand? So, the first tool which we are going to understand is build a tool. Build a tool we need to understand, guys. Here we have several build tools are available in the market. What build tools are available, guys? One is Ant is available, right? Enant is available, and right, Enant is available, right? Next we have right, Maven is available. Maven is available. Next we have Gradle is available, guys. These are the build tools which we have in the market, guys. These are the build tools which we have in the market. See, guys, as a first tool in DevOps, we are going to understand what is build a tool. What build tools are available? Ant is available, Enant is available, Maven is available, Gradle is available. Among these build tools, Ant and Enant, these two are outdated. Old one, guys. No one is using these tools, guys. Ant and Enant are the outdated tools. So nowadays, companies are using Maven or Gradle. Maven or Gradle only companies are using, guys. Right. In our session, we are going to discuss about the Maven build tool. In our session, we are going to discuss about Maven build tool, guys. Guys, observe carefully. As a first tool in the DevOps, we are going to understand about the build tools. Right here, which build tool we are going to understand? Maven. Maven we are going to understand it here. Right. So next tool, guys. What is the next tool we are going to understand, guys? Once this build tool is completed, next we are going to talk about repository tools, guys. Repository tool. Repository tools. We have multiple repository tools also available in the market. What we have, guys? SVN is available. Right. Next we have, right. Next we have GitHub is available. GitHub is available. Next we have Bitbucket also available. Bitbucket. So like this, we have several repository tools also available, guys. SVN stands for subversion. Subversion, guys. SVN stands for subversion. This is one repository tool, guys. Right, guys, we have SVN, GitHub, and Bitbucket. Among these three tools, SVN is outdated. SVN is outdated. So nowadays, companies are using to work with GitHub or Bitbucket. GitHub or Bitbucket companies are using, guys. In our session, we are going to understand about GitHub. We are going to understand about GitHub as a second tool in our course, guys. See guys, first tool we are going to understand about the build tool. Second tool we are going to understand about the repository tool. Right? Which repository tool we are going to learn? GitHub. GitHub we are going to learn it here. Right? Once this repository tool is completed, next we are going to talk about the code review tools, guys. We have code review tool. Code review tool also available. And here, right, what code review tools are available, guys? What code review tools are available? See guys, here we have Sonar, right? Sonar Cube is available. Sonar Cube is one code review tool. Next here we have PMD. PMD is one code review tool. Next we have Sonar Lint. Sonar Lint also we have, guys. Sonar Lint, like this. We have several code review tools are available, guys. Right guys, here we are going to talk about the Sonar Cube. Sonar Cube we are going to understand in our sessions, guys. See guys, 3 tools are completed. Build tools we are going to understand, repository tools we are going to understand, and code review tools also we are going to understand. As a build tool, we are going to discuss about Maven. As a repository tool, we are going to discuss about GitHub. As a code review tool, we are going to discuss about Sonar Cube. Sonar Cube we are going to discuss. Once this code review tool is completed, next we are going to talk about code deployment tool. This is very, very important, guys. Code deployment tool. Code deployment tool, guys. What we are going to discuss at code deployment tool, guys? What code deployment tools we have? Right, we have Jenkins is available. Right, we have udeploy is available. Udeploy, etc., etc. Like this, we have some code deployment tools also available. Among these code deployment tools, we are going to understand about Jenkins. In our sessions, we are going to discuss about the Jenkins as a code deployment tool. See guys, Maven, right, GitHub, SonarCube, and Jenkins we are going to understand. Next guys, right, if you want to deploy your application, if you want to deploy your application in the server, first you should have the infrastructure. First you should have the infrastructure, then only you can deploy your application. Suppose if you want to start one restaurant business, what you should have? Infrastructure is required. What infrastructure is required? Building is required, kitchen setup is required, right? So like dining setup is required, so etc. This setup first you should have, then only you can start the restaurant business. Same way here also, if you want to deploy your application, you should have the required infrastructure. Right? That infrastructure we need to set up, guys. If you want to set up the infrastructure, here we are going to understand one tool, guys. To set up the infrastructure, we are going to understand one tool, that is infrastructure setup tool, guys. Right? Infrastructure setup tools. Infrastructure setup tool. What we are going to learn as the infrastructure setup tool, guys? Terraform. Terraform we are going to understand. Here by using Terraform, what we are going to do? We are going to set up the infrastructure to deploy our application. Right? Whatever the required infrastructure, whatever the infrastructure is required to deploy your application, that infrastructure we are going to set up by using this Terraform. Right? Once this Terraform is completed, so next we are going to talk about configuration management tool. Configuration management tool we are going to discuss, guys. Configuration management tool. As a configuration management tool, what we are going to understand, guys? Right, we have several configuration management tools are available. What tools are available? Chef is available. Chef is available. Right, Puppet is available. Right, we have Ansible is available. Ansible also available. Among these tools, Ansible is very famous nowadays. Right, earlier people are used to work with Chef and Puppet. Nowadays companies are using to work with Ansible. Right, in our sessions we are going to understand about Ansible only. How to work with Ansible we are going to understand. Ansible is what, guys? Configuration management tool. Right? Terraform is what, guys? Infrastructure setup tool. You guys should know the differences between this Terraform and Ansible also. By using Terraform, we are going to set up the infrastructure. We are going to set up the missions and all. Right? Inside that infrastructure, you need to install the softwares also. Then only you can run your application. Right, first, to arrange the machines, to set up the machines, we are going to use Terraform. Next, to install the softwares, we are going to use Ansible. First Terraform, guys. Next Ansible. With the Terraform, we are going to arrange the machines. Right, inside those machines, we need to install some softwares. For installing the softwares, we are going to understand Ansible. Okay. Terraform is a infrastructure setup tool. Ansible is a configuration management tool. Right, once this Ansible is completed, next we are going to talk about, right, very important tool, guys. Right, very important tool, which is containerization tool. Containerization tool, guys. Containerization tool. As a containerization tool, what we are going to learn, guys? Docker. Docker we are going to understand, guys. This is very important tool, guys. Docker we are going to discuss it here. Right, here we are going to see how to create the Docker files, how to create the Docker images, right, how to create the containers by using the Docker images, right, all those things we are going to discuss in this Docker sessions. Docker is very important tool, guys. Right, once Docker is completed, next we are going to talk about orchestration tool. Orchestration tool. So this is a most important tool, guys. And in our entire course, little bit difficult and most important tool is the orchestration tool only. Right, here, what orchestration tools we are going to discuss? Here we have Docker Swarm is available. Docker Swarm is available. Next, here we have, right, Kubernetes. Kubernetes also available. Docker Swarm and Kubernetes, these two are the orchestration tools. And here we are going to discuss both, guys, but I am not going to spend much time on the Docker Swarm, and I will spend more time on the Kubernetes. In the companies, we won't use Docker Swarm, we are using Kubernetes only. In the Docker Swarm, we have some of the limitations, right? Those limitations we are overcoming with the Kubernetes. That's why we need to spend more time on the Kubernetes only. Kubernetes is very important tool which we are going to discuss in our course, guys. Kubernetes is very important tool which we are going to discuss in our course. And here, orchestration tool, guys. By using Docker, we are creating the containers. Right, whatever the containers you are creating by using Docker, those containers we need to manage. To manage those containers only, we have orchestration tool. Right, by using orchestration tool, right, we are going to, right, manage the containers, guys. By using orchestration tool, we are going to manage the containers which are created by the Docker, guys. Right, in the companies, right, 99.9999% companies are using Kubernetes only. Kubernetes only, guys. It is very important, guys. If you have the Kubernetes in your resume, right, if you have the Kubernetes in your resume, right, 90% of the questions will come on the Kubernetes only. 90% of the questions will come on the Kubernetes only, guys. That much important, guys. Okay, so once this Kubernetes is completed, so next we are going to talk about some of the monitoring tools also. Monitoring tools, guys. Monitoring tools. What monitoring tools we have? What monitoring tools we are going to learn at here? See, guys, we are going to understand Grafana. Right, we are going to understand that Grafana is there and Prometheus is there. Right, we are going to understand, right, Prometheus. Next we are going to understand ELK. Guys. ELK. Right, ELK. These are three monitoring tools we are going to understand. See, guys, here we are going to create the clusters by using Kubernetes, guys. By using Grafana and Prometheus, we can monitor the clusters. By using Grafana and Prometheus, we can monitor the cluster logs. Suppose if you want to monitor your application logs, I don't want cluster logs. My application is running in the cluster. I want to monitor that application logs. How I can able to monitor? Kubernetes in production, right? You won't get the access. Guys. Right? Then how I can able to monitor my application logs? For that, we are going to understand ELK. ELK, guys. Here ELK is nothing but it is the combination of three open source product, guys. ELK stands for combination of three open source products. What three open source? E means Elasticstash, Right, E means Elasticsearch. Right, next L means Logstash. K means Kibana. K means Kibana. Right, the combination of these three open source products is nothing but ELK, Elasticsearch, right, Logstash, and Kibana. Right, so we are going to understand this ELK to monitor the application logs. To monitor the cluster logs, we are going to understand Grafana and Prometheus. Prometheus we are going to understand. So these three are the monitoring tools which we are going to understand. Next guys, next here we are going to understand web server also, right? Which web server we are going to discuss, guys? Which web server we are going to discuss in our sessions? We are going to talk about Tomcat, right? Tomcat we are going to discuss in our sessions. Next guys, we are going to understand, right? We are going to understand one more repository, guys. We have one more repository, right, which is Nexus, guys. Nexus also we are going to understand it here. Nexus also we are going to understand. Some companies will use Nexus, some companies will use JFrog also, guys. Some companies will use Nexus, some companies will use JFrog also. See guys, here we have two repositories. One is a source code, right here. GitHub is a GitHub also repository only, but this is what source code repository. Right, this is source code repository tools. Right, this is the source code. Developers will upload the source code into the GitHub repository. Right, DevOps engineers will take that code from the GitHub repository, guys. Then what about the Nexus? Nexus is not source code repository. It is artifact repository. Whatever the artifacts we are creating, whatever the jar files and var files we are creating, those artifacts we are going to keep inside the Nexus repository. And along with that, right, we have some shared libraries in our company. Only in our company 10 projects are running. In all the 10 projects we are using some common libraries. Those common libraries we will call it as shared libraries. Those shared libraries also we can keep inside the Nexus repository. And what we are going to keep inside the Nexus repository? Shared libraries we are keeping, and the artifacts, your application artifacts also we are keeping inside the Nexus repository, not source code, guys. GitHub is what? Source code repository. Whatever the code developers are writing, that code they will put inside the GitHub repository. And here what we are doing is, right, inside this Nexus we are going to keep artifacts and what other things, guys? Shared libraries we are going to keep inside the Nexus repository. Some companies will use Nexus and some companies will use JFrog also. But in our sessions, we are going to understand about Nexus repository. Right. Next, we have project management tool also, guys. Right. I will give the brief introduction. Right. I will give the brief introduction. What is project management tool, guys? Right. Project management tool, right? I will give the brief introduction about this project management tool also. Project management tool, guys. What project management tool, guys? In the companies, most of the companies will use Jira as the project management tool. Okay, all these things we are going to discuss in our sessions, guys. See, right, almost 15 tools we are going to discuss, right? 15 tools here. Maven, right? 1, right, 2, right, 3, 4, Jenkins 4, Terraform 5, right, Ansible 6, Docker 7, Docker Swarm 8, Kubernetes 9, right? So these 3, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Almost 15 tools we are going to discuss in our sessions. Almost 15 tools we are going to discuss, guys. Understood, guys? What is the course content we are going to cover? Just have a look into this course content, guys. And here we are going to discuss multiple tools, guys. As a first tool, we are going to understand Maven. As a second tool, we are going to understand GitHub. Third tool, we are going to understand Sonar. Fourth tool, we are going to understand Jenkins. 1 minute, guys. Guys, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, all these things are the source code repository tools only. All are source code repository tools only. If you know one tool, remaining all same, almost same, guys. Almost same. Right, guys. Next, Sonar Cube as a code review tool. Guys, tell me, what is this Maven, guys? What is this Maven? Maven is a build tool. Right, see here, developers are writing the code. Developers are writing the code and they will upload that code into the GitHub repository, guys. Right, that is called source code, guys. Source codes they are uploading into the GitHub repository. Now, can you give that source code directly to the client? No, they can't able to understand that, guys. They can't able to understand that source code, guys. Then what we need to do, right? So your system also can't able to understand what is that source code. They are writing by using some programming languages, by using Java or Python or .NET, by using some programming languages they are writing, guys. So your system also can't able to understand that, guys. Then what we need to do, we need to convert that code. We need to convert that code into system understandable format. Right? That everything will be taken care by the Maven only. Maven will convert into system understandable format. Maven will build that code. Maven will create one artifact from that code. Right? Everything will done by this Maven only. With this build tool only, we are converting into system understandable format. We are build that code and we are going to create one package. We are going to create a package from that code, guys. Everything is doing by Maven only. GitHub, guys. What is this GitHub? Right, we need to put our code. See, guys, in my project, multiple developers are working. In my project, multiple developers are working, guys. See, observe carefully, guys. Let me draw one diagram. Let me draw one diagram. Guys, observe carefully. Right, guys. In my project, multiple developers are available, guys. In my project, multiple developers are available. In my project, multiple developers are available like this. Right, and now work from home, right? So developers are working from their homes, from different locations. They are working, right? Like this, multiple developers are available. Right, so one developer is working on login page functionality. Second developer is working on, right, so registration page functionality. Third developer is working on some dashboard functionality. So like that, so all these three people are working on three different functionalities in same project, guys. In same project, all these three developers are working on three different functionalities. Here I have the development team. This is my development team, guys. Development team, guys. What this development is doing, they are working on different functionalities in same project, right? So now here, once their development is completed, once they tested that functionality in their local machines, what they will do, they will upload that code into the GitHub repository. Here we have one GitHub repository, guys. They will upload that code into the GitHub repository like this. Assume this is my GitHub repository. GitHub repository. So developers will upload the code into this GitHub repository, guys. Okay. So now observe carefully, guys. Right here, what this GitHub repository will do, guys? So what this GitHub repository will do, guys, it will take the code from all the developers. Here, how many developers are working? 3 developers are working. GitHub will take the code from all these 3 developers and it will integrate as a single project. All the developers code, GitHub is going to integrate as a single project. Guys, developers will write the code as per client requirement by using some programming languages. Java, Python, .NET. Once development is completed, they will upload that code into the GitHub repository. And once they uploaded the code into the GitHub repository, their job is done. Their work is completed, guys. Now, Now guys, right here DevOps team will come guys. Now DevOps team will come. What the DevOps team will do guys, whatever the code developers are uploaded into the GitHub repository, right, whatever the integrated code is available in the GitHub repository, that integrated code, right, DevOps engineers will take guys. DevOps engineers will take that integrated code from the GitHub repository, right? See guys, here we have the infrastructure also like this guys. We have the infrastructure. I have created the infrastructure in the AWS cloud. In the AWS cloud, I have created this infrastructure. This is my AWS cloud guys. This is my AWS cloud. In AWS cloud, I have created my infrastructure guys. Right, inside this AWS cloud only, I have created one mission guys, one EC2 instance I have launched inside this AWS cloud guys. Here I have one EC2 instance also. EC2 VM, EC2 VM for a virtual machine is available. Guys, observe carefully. Here you will get complete clarity. What tools, right, which tool we are going to use for which purpose, you are going to get complete clarity. Right, inside the EC2 instance, I'm going to install one server guys. I'm going to install one server. Right, assume Tomcat server I installed. Right, one server I installed guys. Assume Tomcat I installed it here. Right, this is Tomcat server. Tomcat server I installed. And inside this Tomcat server, I have deployed one application guys. I have deployed the application inside this Tomcat server like. See? So this is my infrastructure guys. Inside the AWS cloud, I have created one virtual machine. Inside the virtual machine, I have installed one server. Inside the server, I have deployed my application. Now here, whatever the code you have, that code directly you will deploy inside this GitHub repository. Whatever the source code is available, that source code directly you can deploy into the server. No, we can't. No, we can't guys. What we need to do it here? What we need to do it here guys? See guys, observe very carefully. And here, first guys, the first activity as a DevOps engineer, what is your first activity? What is your first activity guys? Here, so you need to take the code. See guys, first we are going to set up the Jenkins here guys. We have the Jenkins. Assume guys, here we have the Jenkins guys. As a DevOps engineer, what you will do guys, observe carefully guys. Here as a DevOps engineer, the first activity which we need to set up the infrastructure. Infrastructure you need to set up guys. Right, so next guys, infrastructure setup means what you need to take. You need to set up the computers, and next you need to take care of the servers. Right, servers. Next you need to take care of the databases. Next you need to take care of the network. Next here power. Right, power. Next here we have power. After power we need to take care of the storage. Right, all these things guys. As right, in the infrastructure setup only, we need to take care of all these things guys. Once infrastructure setup is done, right, next we need to install the softwares and all guys. We need to install the softwares also at here guys. Here we need to install the softwares. Software installations we need to take care guys. Once software installations are completed, so next right, take the code from the GitHub repository. Right, take the code from GitHub repository. Next guys, once you take the code from the GitHub repository, what we need to do? We need to build that code. Build that code means what? We need to convert, right, source code to system understandable format. We need to convert that code. We need to build that code. Right, we need to package that code guys. Everything we need to do. Right, here for that, right, build. Right, we need to build the code guys. Build the code guys. Right, once build is completed, we need to do the code review. We need to do guys. Once code review is completed, next we need to deploy the code guys. So these are the activities we need to perform. As a DevOps engineers, you need to do all these activities. Now tell me guys, right, to set up the infrastructure, we have multiple options are available. If you want to set up the infrastructure, we have multiple options are available. Right, one is through GUI you can do guys. AWS is providing GUI. Through GUI you can do, or right, by using code also you can do guys. Terraform. If you want to do by using code, then we need to go for Terraform at here. Terraform we can do guys. Right, so once infrastructure setup is done, software's installation, right, for installing the softwares we are going to use Ansible, right, for configuration management we are going to use Ansible guys. Next here we need to take the code from the GitHub repository. For that here we are going to use Git client software we are going to use it here. By using this Git client we will take the code from the GitHub repository. Once you take the code from the GitHub repository, we need to build that code. To build that code we are going to use Maven as a build tool we are using. Once next we need to do the code review guys. We need to do the code review, right? The developers are written the code properly or not, whether they follow the coding standards properly or not, whether they return the JUnit test cases properly or not. Everything we need to review. Everything we need to review guys. Code review we need to do. Right? Manually we are going to do the code review? No. For that also we are going to use one tool guys. Which tool? Sonar Cube. Right? Sonar Cube we will use guys. Sonar Cube we are going to use to do the code review. Once code review is success, there is no issues, then we will go for the deployment. For deployment purpose, which tool we are going to use? Jenkins we are going to use it here. Once all these things are completed, Jenkins will deploy your application. Jenkins will deploy your application into the server like this. See guys, right, we are going to understand first Maven we are going to understand to build the code. Next we are going to understand GitHub and Git case. Next we are going to understand Sonar Cube. Next we are going to understand Jenkins. Terraform we are going to understand. Ansible we are going to understand. Next what we need to understand here. See guys, next we need to what we need to understand. Suppose, right, if you want to manage your application in the single server, only in single server I want to manage my application, then Jenkins is enough. Then Jenkins is enough guys. But if you want to manage your application in the multiple servers, the multiple environments you want to manage your application, then right, we need to use right, Docker and Kubernetes. We are going to use Docker and Kubernetes also to manage the application, in multiple servers. What we are going to understand here? We are going to understand Docker and Kubernetes. To manage the application in multiple servers, we are going to understand Docker and Kubernetes. Docker and Kubernetes we are going to understand it here. What is Docker? Docker is a containerization tool. What is Kubernetes? Kubernetes is a orchestration tool. Whatever the containers you are creating by using Docker, all those containers we are going to manage by Kubernetes. Right? So if you want to deploy, if you want to manage your application only in single server, then Jenkins is enough. But I want to manage my application in multiple environments, multiple servers, then we need to go for this Docker and Kubernetes. In real time, are you going to manage your application in multiple environments or single environment? Multiple guys. That's why this Docker and Kubernetes is very, very important. Next guys, in the Kubernetes, we are going to create the clusters. I want to monitor the cluster logs, how my clusters are running, how much right CPU my clusters are utilizing, how much memory my clusters are utilizing, all those things I need to monitor. To monitor the cluster logs, we are going to use Grafana and Prometheus. We are going to use. Right, see guys, here to monitor cluster logs, guys, I will give time at the end. I will clear your answer questions, please wait. To monitor cluster logs, here we are going to understand Grafana. Right, here we are going to understand Grafana and what other tool guys? Right, Prometheus also available. Right, that Prometheus and Grafana we are going to understand to monitor the cluster logs guys. Grafana, Prometheus. Prometheus, guys. Next, guys, I want to monitor my application logs also, not cluster logs. I don't want cluster logs. I want to monitor my application logs. Inside the cluster, my application is running. Requests are coming to my application. Whether my application processing those requests successfully or not, I want to monitor that logs. If any request got failed, then I need to check why that request processing is failed. How I can able to monitor? By seeing application logs only you can fix that issue. How you will get that application logs? For that, we are going to understand to monitor application logs. To monitor application logs, we are going to use ELK. ELK we are going to understand it here. To monitor application logs, we are going to use ELK. To monitor application logs, we are going to use ELK. To monitor cluster logs, we are going to use Grafana and Prometheus. Right, guys? There, whatever the tools I mentioned, everything is came or not. Everything is covered or not it here, guys. Observe it here, guys. Whatever I mentioned there, all the things are came or not. 1 minute. See, guys. See, everything is came at here, guys. Everything is came at here. 1 minute, guys. This is not correct. Once again. To monitor application logs, we are going to understand ELK. ELK, guys. To monitor application logs, we are going to understand ELK. Okay, guys. See, just to have a look into this. Right. So here, whatever I mentioned in our notes, everything is came on not Maven, GitHub, SonarQube, Jenkins, Terraform, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, right? These monitoring tools, everything is came or not. See, guys, here my Maven will create the package, guys. It will build the code and it will create var file or jar file, guys. For future purpose, that var file only we are deploying, guys. Whatever the var file this Maven is created, that var file only we are deploying it here. Right now, I want to keep that var file for future purpose. Where I can keep that var file inside the Nexus repository. Right here, we are going to understand Nexus repository also to keep the var file for future purpose. Right. So to keep the artifact, for future purpose. For future purpose, what we are going to understand here? Nexus we are going to understand it here, guys. Nexus we are going to understand. Is it clear, guys? Is this clear? All the tools, guys, all these tools we are going to discuss. Now tell me, who will do all these activities? Developers will develop the code as per client requirement and they will upload that code, right? They will upload. Right, cluster means we'll discuss, guys. In the Kubernetes, we'll discuss what is the cluster. Kubernetes means their control plane or their worker nodes are available. It's the combination of control node and worker nodes. We will call it as one cluster, guys. Right, we will discuss there. See, guys, here developers will develop the code as per client requirement and they will upload the code into the GitHub repository. Once they upload the code into the GitHub repository, their work is done. So now, right, who will deploy that application into the servers? DevOps engineers will do that activity. DevOps engineers only will do that activities. To perform that activities, DevOps engineers need to use all these tools, guys. All these tools. Earlier, before DevOps, so here whatever I have written, all these things are manual process. All these things are manual process, guys. Whenever developer commit the code into the GitHub repository, every time DevOps team needs to do all these activities manually. Oh, guys, in a day, developers will commit the code, right, hundreds of times, guys. Right, in your team, 10 developers are there, means 10 developers. Suppose each developer will commit the code 10 times in a day. 10 into 10, 100 times they will do, guys. Right, 100 times, if you want to do all these activities manually, it will take time or not? Is it difficult or not, guys? Earlier, this is the manual process. Manually, you need to do all these things, guys. right, to overcome that problem. If you do manually, what it will happen? Delivery will become late. Delivery will become late, guys. You can't able to deliver the project to client on time. Right? It will become late, guys, because of this manual process. And deployments also will happen very late, guys. Very late deployments. Deployments also will take more time if you want to do this right, manually, all these things, guys. To overcome this manual efforts, right, DevOps came into the picture. With the DevOps, what we are doing, right, we are automating all this process, guys. We are going to automate this entire process. Only one time you need to set up all these things. Only one time you need to do all these activities, right? Whenever developers are commit the code into the GitHub repository, immediately, right, it will trigger, guys, right? It will trigger our process, guys, right? One by one, all the steps will be executed. We no need to do anything, guys. Only one time activity. We are automating this entire process with the DevOps culture. Suppose if you don't have the DevOps, this is the manual process, guys. This is the manual process. How we are automating this? How we are going to automate this, guys? See, observe carefully, guys. How you are automating this? Observe carefully at here. See, guys, here, same thing. I'm going to take it here. How we are going to automate this process? See, guys, development team will upload the code into the GitHub repository. Next, guys, whenever here, what we are going to do, we are going to create the CI/CD pipeline in the Jenkins, guys. Here we are going to use CI/CD pipeline. Jenkins we are using it here, right? Jenkins we are going to use it here, guys. Jenkins we are going to use it here. In the Jenkins, what we are going to do, we are going to create the CI/CD pipelines. See, whenever developers are uploaded the code into the GitHub repository, immediately right here, Jenkins will trigger, guys. Right? Jenkins notification will come to the Jenkins. Jenkins will take the latest code automatically, guys. You don't need to do anything. Whenever developers are upload the code into the GitHub repository, immediately my Jenkins will take the latest code from the GitHub repository, and my Jenkins will talk to Maven. My Jenkins will talk to Maven, guys. Right, Jenkins will talk to Maven. See here, right, we need to integrate Maven with the Jenkins, guys. Right, Jenkins will talk to Maven, guys. Why Jenkins is talking with Maven, guys? Here, Jenkins will take the source code from the GitHub repository. Right, we need to build that code. We need to package that code. We need to compile that code. Right, who will do that? Who will do those activities? Maven will do those activities. That's why Jenkins will talk to Maven to perform all those activities. Maven will do all those activities. Next, guys, here Jenkins is going to talk with SonarQube also. Jenkins is going to talk with SonarQube also. Why Jenkins is going to talk with SonarQube? For code review. Right? Developers are writing the code. Right? Whether they written the code properly or not, whether they followed the coding standards or not, whether they written the JUnit test cases or not, all the JUnit test cases are passed or failed. Everything we need to verify. That's why Jenkins is going to talk with SonarQube. SonarQube will review the code. Suppose if there is any errors are there, any issues are there, SonarQube found any issues, who will responsible to fix those issues? Not DevOps engineers. DevOps engineers are not responsible to fix those issues. Whatever the report this SonarQube is generating, we need to give that report to development team again. Development team will work on those issues, and again they will upload the code into the GitHub repository. See, guys, here Maven, Sonar. Right here, right, we need to integrate all these things with the Jenkins. Right, whenever developers are commit the code into the GitHub repository, right, Jenkins immediately will take that code and it will talk to Maven to build and package that code. Next, Jenkins will talk to Sonar to perform the code review. Next, guys, once code review also completed, so next what Jenkins will do, guys? Next what it will do, guys? Right, what Jenkins will do next? Right here it is creating, Maven is creating the var file, right? So that var file Jenkins will deploy into the server. Guys. We are going to take the server in the AWS, guys. In the AWS cloud, we are setting the infrastructure at AWS. This is my EC2 instance. Inside the instance, I'm going to take the server. I'm going to take the server inside the EC2 instance, and here Jenkins will do the deployment. At here. See guys, so this entire process we are going to automate by using DevOps culture. Earlier, this is the manual process, guys. Earlier, this is the manual process. Now, with this DevOps culture, we are automating this entire process. Every time, whenever developers are commit the code into the GitHub repository, every time you don't need to go and you don't need to take the code manually. Right? Jenkins will take immediately. Jenkins will get the notification. Jenkins will take the code from the GitHub repository. Jenkins will talk to Maven. Jenkins will talk to SonarQube. Once everything is done, Jenkins will deploy that application into the servers. We no need to do all these things, guys. Right here we are going to integrate other tools also with the Jenkins. Nexus we are integrating, right? So Docker we are integrating, Kubernetes we will integrate. All those things we need to integrate with the Jenkins only. And here Jenkins is the main tool, guys. Jenkins is the main tool. This Jenkins only will talk to Maven. Jenkins only will talk to Sonar. Jenkins only will talk to Nexus. Jenkins only will talk to Docker. Jenkins only will talk to Kubernetes. Here Jenkins is the main tool, guys. We need to integrate all the remaining tools with the Jenkins only. Okay. So like this, we are automating the process, guys. Earlier, this is the manual approach. Once DevOps came to the picture, with the DevOps culture, we are automating this entire process. Okay. Is that clear, guys? Is this clear? Perfect, guys. Right. So now let me go to here. Right, guys. Okay, right. To finish all these tools, how many days it will take, guys? To complete all these tools, how many days it will take? What is the duration of this course, guys? And what is the duration of this course? How many days we are going to spend on this DevOps, guys? Guys, here we are going to spend, right, duration, almost we are going to spend 2 months, guys. 2 months we need to spend on this DevOps, guys. 2 months we need to spend, guys. Right, so here what is the timings, guys? Daily, right, daily class timings, right, evening 7:30 p.m. guys, 7:30 p.m. IST to, right, 9 p.m. guys, 9 p.m. IST, 9 p.m. IST, guys. Right, so you guys know, right, recordings are available. Recordings are available, right, with 3 months access, 3 months access, and daily class notes. Daily class notes I will upload in Telegram group. Telegram group, guys. Okay. Right. These are the tools which we are going to discuss in our session, guys. Guys, Kubernetes I will discuss in detail, guys. Only in Kubernetes I am going to spend almost 30 hours, guys. Right, once Kubernetes is started, right, I will take 2 hours daily, guys. Right, almost 25 to 30 hours I am going to discuss. I am going to spend, guys. Okay, right, Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, Docker and Kubernetes both I will spend 30 days, guys. Only these two tools, and I am going to spend 30 days on these two tools, guys. Okay. Remaining, Jenkins is one of the big tool, Docker and Kubernetes. These three tools are very, very important in our course. Is it clear, guys, what we are going to discuss in our sessions? What we are going to discuss in the DevOps course? Is it clear? Build tools, source code repository tools, code review tool, right, code deployment tool, infrastructure setup tool, configuration management tool, containerization tool, orchestration tool, right, monitoring tools, web server, repository tool, right, project management tool. All these things we are going to discuss. Right, the duration of this course is 2 months, guys. Daily class timing 7:30 p.m. IST to 9 p.m. IST. Recordings are available with 3 months access. Daily class notes will be, right, uploaded into the Telegram group, guys. Is that clear? Now, anyone have any questions? Right, I'm going to unmute, guys. Now, if you guys have any questions, you can ask. Anyone have any questions on this course content? Guys, if you guys don't have the Kubernetes, it is very, very difficult to get the job, guys. Kubernetes is very, very important nowadays. Docker and Kubernetes are the very, very important, guys. Not only for the DevOps engineers, even for the developers also. Docker and Kubernetes are very, very important. Without having these two tools in your resume, it is very difficult to get the job, guys. Is it clear, guys, what we are going to discuss? With the DevOps, what we are going to do, guys? Right, earlier, whatever the manual efforts are there, those manual efforts we are going to automate by using this DevOps culture. DevOps is not a programming language. DevOps is not a framework. DevOps is not a tool, guys. Just it is a process. Just it is a culture. Just it is a set of practices. By using this DevOps culture, we are going to automate the deployment and delivery process. We are going to automate the deployment and delivery process, guys. Right, with this DevOps culture, development team and the DevOps team will work collaboratively. Both teams will work collaboratively. Okay, guys. We'll discuss all those things, guys. As a first tool, tomorrow I'm going to start Maven, guys. As a first tool, I'm going to start Maven, guys. Okay. Is that clear, guys? Please respond. Fine, guys. Tomorrow I'm going to start Maven, guys. Thank you, guys. Tomorrow we will continue. Thank you, guys. Good night.